Welcome to this project. In this video, we are going to build a project called Github Finder, where you can search for any GitHub user and it will provide you with the details of the user, for example, the repository of the user and some basic or biography about the user. Alright, so let's try to search for different user here. Let's try to search for, as soon as we type the name, it gives us the random or the actual user. So when you type Ben, you can see that we have this user, and you can see that we have where the person is coming from, his name and the company and his location and his followers and following repository for this user and the actual repository for this user. As you can see that we have a bunch of repository for this user, and you can quickly click on one to view this person's repository. All right, and so this is what we're going to build in this project. And let's look at the technologies we're going to use. Well, we're going to use React and then Redux, and most importantly Redux toolkit, and we're going to use GitHub API to get it done. All right, so if you're happy as I am, take some coffee and then let's get started. Alright, so before we get started, I don't want to spend much time on the UI, so I've already prepared the starter template for this project. So I'll provide a link below in the description. But before we move on, I want to show you that this is a live project. I have deployed it live, so I'll provide a link also in the description to preview before we get started. Alright, so let's head over to my GitHub repository and then let's clone the starter template for this project. Alright, so like I said, I'll provide a link to my GitHub repository for the starter project and the final one. So if you go to my GitHub repository, this is a project called Github Finder starter template. Alright, so first of all, if you want to get updated version, anytime I update this repository, first you need to fork this project and then give it a star, and then you clone this project as well. So let me clone this project and let me head over to my terminal right here. Let me make it bigger for you to see, and then I'm inside this repository of called GitHub Finder, and then I just want to make clone and paste the link. Alright, so it has finished cloning, so let me open it inside my code editor. It's called GitHub Finder starter template, so you can rename it as you want if you want. Alright, so let me put it inside one of my screens here. Let me rearrange it well like that. Let me make it bigger. Okay, there we go. All right, so next thing is that let's cd into that project. So let me rearrange it well to bring this one here. So because if you clone it, you don't have all the packages, so let's install the packages by running this command yarn, or if you're using npm, so npm i. All right, and we're going to install the packages for us for this project. Okay, so while it is loading, let's look at the structure of the project as we have right now. Okay, let me add a GitHub, and then let me add the node modules. All right, I don't want to push these node modules to, that is why I'm adding that. Okay, so let's look at the folder structure. We don't have much going on here. All I have is my image folder with this SVG and the app.js file. We have this defined CSS for us, and that's all what we have. We're going to work only in the app.js file. All right, so let's start our application and see what we have. All right, so for the styling, I'm using sorry guys, I'm using Tailwind CSS for the styling. All right, so if you are not familiar with Tailwind CSS, it's also, oh well, it says that store is not defined. All right, maybe So if you get that error, go to your index.js file, all right, and remove the store because we are not, and remove the provider as well, and remove this one and have just a fragment. All right, so let's see what we have. Let's refresh the application, and there we go. This is what we have. It's empty canvas, nothing going on here. So we're going to fill this one with the actual logic for this project. All right, now that we have our starter template being done, first let's go to our terminal. Let me shut down my server because first we're going to connect our application to Redux. So like I said, we're going to use Redux toolkit, and if you are not familiar with Redux toolkit, I will provide a link. I have a complete playlist on my YouTube. You can watch that one and then come back to this video. But if you want to proceed and you're okay with that, then let's continue. So let's go to Google and then search for Redux toolkit. All right, sorry, let's search for Redux toolkit. Sorry, Redux toolkit. All right, so let me reduce the font for this. It's too big. I think it's okay. All right, so this is a home page for Redux toolkit. So let me briefly explain what is Redux toolkit from the traditional Redux. Redux toolkit make it pretty easy, reduces the number of code and boilerplate we use, and this is even the recommended way from Redux team that we should use Redux toolkit. One, because of the way we need a lot of packages before we can get up your store done in your React application. So Redux toolkit make it pretty easy to implement your state management. All right, so like I said, I'll provide a link to my playlist on Redux toolkit, but don't worry, if you're not okay with it, I'll be explaining as I proceed on. So the difference between the Redux toolkit and Redux is that they are all Redux though, but Redux toolkit make it easy. It reduces the number of code you use and number of packages you need to use in your project. All right, so let's get going. Let's click on getting started, and first let's install the Redux package. So yarn add. So let's go to my terminal. All right, and let's install that. All right, so let me paste what I copied, yarn add Redux toolkit, and we also need React Redux, right? For traditional way of using Redux, we need to install Redux separately, but Redux toolkit you don't have to. So let's install React Redux for binding. All right, and we need access to make HTTP request to GitHub API. All right, so while it's installing, let's go back to our code and start implementing. So let's get going. All right, so inside the app.js file here, let's create one component. Well, one component or one folder called Redux. All right, so we're going to, this is how I like to structure my Redux application, and let's create one folder called store. So in this video, we are going to create our store, and another one will be my slices. So in Redux toolkit, slices are just like a piece of state. Your reducers and action combined together to give you slices. All right, so inside my store, let's create one file called store.js. So let's see how we can create store in a 4 lines of code and make it done. All right, so let's import some functions from, or some utility functions from Redux toolkit. All right, and what we need here is called configure store, right? And this configure store gives us the utility functions to create our store with less code. So with this configure store behind the scene, it gives us the Redux Tank and then even Saga and then Redux dev extension to behind the scene. All right, so we don't need to install the dev extension too because we have Redux toolkit. All right, so let's create our function called store like that, and let's use the configure store. And all what this configure store is an object, and the one required property is called reducer, and this reducer takes an object. All right, that's all what we need to create your store. You see, with only 5 lines of code or 4 lines of code, you are good to go. So next is let's export default the store, and then let's go to our index.js file, and then let's wrap our store inside our application, right? So here, let's bring in the provider because you want to bind Redux to React. So you're going to use provider from React Redux. Right, like that. And then here inside my fragment here, let's provide provider, and the only prop it takes is our store, and then it's equal to store, right? So with this, let's go back to our application. Let's restart our application, run our server, and then as soon as we start application, if everything goes on, we're going to see that we have our store being configured for us. This is a final project, and this is what we are working on. All right, so let's see what's happening in the console terminal. Well, store is not defined. Yes, we need to bring in the store. Sorry, on my side. So let me try if I have the auto import. There we go. I have my auto import, and it has been imported for me here. All right, so with this, let's try and see. Let's refresh the application, and there we go. Did you see we have Redux that extension to being created for us automatically? So let me open this one in a separate tab so that you can have the tutorial or the high view of what's going on there. All right, so this is from, so let me refresh the application, and then you see that we have nothing inside our state, our store. All right, now that we have finished creating our connecting application to store, next is let's work on the slices. So like I said, the slices are the actions and reducers. So let's see how we can get that one done. All right, and it's pretty easy to get it done. All right, so here, let's name our slice according to the project we are working on. If it is users, for example, if you are creating a blog application, you have users, you have posts, you have comments. So this will have separate what slices. So slice like a state, right? So your reducers and your actions combined together. So here, because for this one, I'm just handling only one state called GitHub users, right? So let me call this one GitHub slices.js. So let's see how we can create a slice. So if you go to the documentation for Redux toolkit, let's go to the APIs. All right, so like I said, I have a complete playlist on this. So APIs, and let's head over to where is it? About create slices. Where is it? This one. All right, so a function that accepts an initial state and object full of reducer function, slice name, and blah blah blah, whatever. All right, so this is how we create it. But like I said, I have a lesson on this too. But let's go on. Let's proceed on. I'll be explaining as I move on. All right, so here let's import something from Redux toolkit. And what I need here, one is my create slice. So create slice, and then I also need my create async thank. All right, so these are from Redux toolkit. So create slice going to help us to create our reducers. Let me put it that way. And then create actions is going to help us to create our action. So we're going to use create async thank, as the name implies, to make some async calls because we want to talk to external API or external server. All right, and then we need to make a HTTP client. So let's require the Axios, the one we installed from Axios. All right, so next is here, let's create action creator. All right, so we're going to use create async thank to make it that one happens. All right, so this is how you're going to create it. And first, let's export, because this file we're going to export multiple functions, our reducers and our action. So behind the scene, create slice gives us the reducers and actions, but because we are using create async thing, we are going to create our action automatically. So here, export, let's make use of export const fetch. So here, for this request, if you go back to the final project, you see that we are going to hit two endpoints. One endpoint to fetch the user profile, like that, and another one to fetch the repository. So we have two HTTP API calls we need to make. So we're going to handle these two calls with different action, right? So the first action we're going to handle here is called fetch the user's repository first. So here, let's name a function fetch repos action. All right, and we're going to make use of create async thing. And the prop it takes two props. One will be the name of your action. So call this one action type, right? So you can name it whatever you want, but it must be unique. So repos list of repos, and the next one going to be my anonymous function, like that. So here I'm going to make the HTTP calls, but because I want to make use of await in my function, I will mark this one as an async, like that. And then inside here, let me bring in my try and catch, because I want to handle if there are any errors. All right, so let's talk about this function. What is doing over here? This function we pass in here gives us all the utility methods to make our life easier. For example, we have access to user, the payload. If you want to send payload to the action, you pass it to. So the first one here, argument, we have access to our payload, and the next one will be, let's destructure some properties here. All right, so inside this curly braces, let's bring in reject with value. Reject with value going to help us to pass the errors in a friendly way to the user. And next one, we have what is called the snapshot of our store state. All right, so get state, and we also have access to dispatch. So here, if you want to dispatch any custom errors, we can make use of this dispatch here. All right, so now that we have all these things done, this payload is going to receive when a user make a call. So let me name here that make the HTTP call. All right, so here we need the API to hit. So let's go to GitHub. So then let's search for GitHub REST API. GitHub REST API docs. All right, and let's see. Let me show you the API we're going to hit. All right, so cool. We are here. As you can see, we have the REST API overview, and let's go to the references and let's show you what we're going to hit. All right, so first is we're going to hit about the repositories. So if you scroll here, we see that we have users. This is going to help us to what? To search for the user profile. So here we have what we call list of users, right? But we want to get a user. Get a user means you're going to get the person's profile. So click on that. All right, and let's look at the endpoint we're going to hit. So the parent route going to be, and then the endpoint going to be users, right, / username. All right, and then we need to, if you want to make more requests per hour, you need to authenticate the what do you call it, the request. So I will show you how we can authenticate that. So I'm going to use this one to search for a particular user profile, like this one I'm referring to, this profile page. And then the next one going to be the repositories for the user. So let's keep going here, and I think it's repositories. All right, so if you click on that, we're going to have this, the endpoint to hit to fetch this profile repository for this user. All right, so if you scroll down, all right, so you see you have a lot of 8 endpoints you can hit to make your life easier. We can even create more applications using these pages or using these APIs. All right, so let's search for the repositories. All right, I think it's a bunch, so you can look through and then see. So I have provided the complete path. we're going to use. So let's get going. Now we know where you're getting the one from, but we also need to authenticate the request. But for now, let's leave it that way, and you come back to how we can authenticate the request. All right, so here, let's make the call. So here, you're going to fetch the repositories. So all what you need is, let's make the request. So const, let me call this one response, and then maybe await and exhaust.get, because the request is that we should use get method. All right, so let's see the endpoint. We're going to be https semicolon / api.github.com/users. all right, we have /users, and then here you want to pass in the particular user, right? So let me have a dynamic data here, and let me pass in here payload. So I'm going to receive this payload from the user. Let me name this one user. We're going to pass in the user here. All right, like that. And then if you want to get the repos, so /repos. All right, and then how many repos do you want to retrieve per this user? If you want to get 4 repos, or you can do that. But let me make it per each. Let me provide, let's say, even 30 repos. All right. And if you want to sort it by ascending order, you can also provide another query parameter here, and then sort is equal to ASE in ascending order. All right, now we have it done, the request done, but let's quickly destructure the actual data from here. Okay, so what should I do is I have to return this data to the user. All right, but when something goes wrong, let's handle that. All right, so to be able to display a user-friendly errors, let's make use of this rejected value. So if, let's check, if there is no error, there's no response on the error. All right, then let's throw the actual error. All right, so maybe confused about this question mark. So I don't want to use an operator. For example, if there is no error and error.response, so that question mark make it pretty easy. All right, so if there is an error, let's return and let's pass the error to rejected with value, and then let's pass in our error dot response like that. All right, now we have our action to fetch the repos. So let's create one more action. So action for repos, and then let's create one action for profile. So it's going to be the same thing. So I can copy this one to save time here, and then let's copy that and paste this one. Let me paste it here, and let me rename this one to action for user profile. All right, you can guess. Yeah, so the difference is the name of my function, my action type, and the HTTP method the API are going to hit. So let me name this one fetch profile. Like that. All right, fetch profile. So the endpoint is going to change here. So the difference here is that we need to pass in the user only without this one. So let's remove this, and that's all what we need. All right, so let me name this one called profile list. All right, the name might be unique. All right, now we have our action. So let's create our reducers. So we call this one slices. So we are going to create our slices to handle these actions. So let me call this one slices. And like I said, this one contains only one data called GitHub. So in this one, we're going to handle both the repos and the profile in this slide. So let's get going. So const repos slices is equal to create slice. All right, create slice, and then I will pass in first of all. So let's see how we can map our function, our action into this create slice. So like I said, for create slice, we have 2 ways of doing it. We have what is called the map notation, and then the object one. All right, so I have, like I said, I have a complete playlist on this. So create slides is help us to manage to handle our actions inside this and change the state. All right, so this is the syntax. So first of all, you pass in the object, and here it takes in a couple of parameters. So first of all, going to be my name. The name must be unique, and we call this one repos. So this one represents repos reducers. All right, and the next one going to be my initial values, initial state. By default, they make it an empty object. All right, so now here comes the magic. Let's map our actions to individuals. All right, so we have another property called extra reducers. All right, and this is, we are going to use what is called the builder notation. This is what the Redux team recommend than the map notation. They all work in the same way, but the builder notation is what they prefer. All right, so this function, anonymous function here, inside this, we really have one parameter called builder. If I save it because of prettier, I have this way. All right, so in here, on the builder, we are going to map the individual. So the return from this action gives us three things. One, pending. When we make the request, we have a pending state. We have fulfilled state, so you have what is called pending. All right, pending state, fulfilled, and then reject. So builder.add case. So what case are you going to add? I'm going to add, first of all, let's handle the fetch repository. So here, fetch repos action, and this action gives us three things. Like I said, first one, pending. When it's pending, let's handle the state. All right, so let me give one variable, another parameter here, and let's destructure. So let's pass another function like that. And here, this function, we have access to our state and our action. So here, state and our action like that. Good. So let's do that. Let's say when it's loading, when it's pending, let's have a variable called loading, and then let's put it into true, because when it's loading, we said it's what? We should make it true. It's equal to true. All right, so when it's loading. But what about if it is fulfilled? The request was done. So builder dot add case, the same action, fetch repos dot fulfilled. All right, then you pass another function, and here we have state and our action like that, and there we go. So here, when it's fulfilled, let's put loading to false. All right, and then let's say that let's get the actual data. So let me name this one repos list, and then I'm gonna get it from action dot payload, the payload that's coming from the actual response, this one, the actual payload. Okay, good. So next is, at this point there is no error, so let's say error is equal to undefined. Okay, but what about if something goes wrong? Let's do that. So builder dot add case dot rejected. All right, and then pass in another function. We have access to state and our action, and here you will see that state dot loading. But if there are some errors, definitely loading might be false, and the actual repos list must be also undefined at this point, because if there's error, let's clear our state, and then let's add another property called error, and it's equal to action dot payload. All right, so now we have handled the fetch repos actions inside the reducers. So next is let's handle what the profile. So going to be the same thing. So here, let me name here as repos reducers. Let me put it that way. All right, and then next one here inside the, make sure you're inside the builder function. So here, let's have one comment called profile, and the same process, builder dot add case. For this add case, we're going to use this function that our action call this action, fetch profile action. So you can copy that and then add case. All right, And the first one, let's handle when it's pending. And then you can see tab 9, I have the auto import. First, when it's pending, and then let's handle the states. For this function, we have access to our state and our action, and then the same process, state.loading is equal to true. All right. But what about is fulfilled? So builder.addCase fetch profile dot fulfilled, like that. Let's pass one function and then let's handle the state change. All right, so here at this point, when the profile is fulfilled, let's put loading to false, and then we get the actual data. Let me name this one profile is equal to action.payload, and then state.error. At this stage, there is no error, so error must be undefined here. All right, the action must be undefined here. And what about if something goes wrong? Let's handle that. So builder.addCase, and here is what? Fetch profile, rejected state, and then tab 9, I have the autocomplete. So here, when there are some errors, loading must be false, and then state, let's put the profile state into undefined, because when the error, let's clear that undefined, and then here state.error, let's get the actual error is equal to action.payload. All right, so now this is how we create our actions and reducers. So the last thing is that let's export this reducer, right? So we can map into our state. So here export, so let me call this one get the reducer. All right, so here export default the repos slices. Okay, where is it? Repos slices. Oh, sorry, it's not, it's repos. Like repos slices. Oh, so why I found that spelling mistake like that? Repos slices. Sorry, I don't think. Yeah, let me copy that. Sorry, guys. All right, and then there we have what is called reducer. That's all what we need. So we're going to export this one as reducer. We're going to export this function. This one, this reduce slices and the individual actions. So let's go back to our store and then let's map that reducer into that. Okay, so here our store is like this. So let's bring in the reducer. So import, let me call this one repos reducer from dot slices. Yeah, slices, and then we have the GitHub slices. So here let's provide our property called repos. So this repos, then let's map to our repo reducer. With this in place, let's go back to our application. Let me see what we have. Let me refresh. No error. Let's hope there will be no error going on. All right, so with this, I think this is coming from this. So let me close this one for now because we have finished demonstrating it. Yeah, but if you go back to our states, we have no states, right? But we have repos being given to us, this one. But if you provide some initial states, let's go to GitHub slices, and for initial states, where is it? My slices, where's my, here. If you provide, let's say user is equal to, let's say ima, like this, and then let's refresh the application. Let's go to our state and let's go, what do we have? We have ima. All right, now that we have finished creating our actions and reducers, the last thing is let's go back to our component and dispatch that action. All right, so how can we dispatch an action from our component? And it's pretty easy, so let's get going. All right, so inside, let's go to the app, and here we need a couple of API. So first of all, if you want to dispatch any action from your component, we have what is called use dispatch from React Redux. And if you want to select piece of state, we have what is called use selector, like that. And I also need, as soon as the component mount, I want to fetch the first user. So I'm going to use effect here from React. All right. The next thing is that I need to call both my actions. Call fetch user action. Let me see. Auto import fetch repos. Well, let me go back. If your auto import is not working, you can do it manually, but I have a trick for you. Go back to the slides again and then resave again, save again, come back here and let's try if you're gonna get the auto import. So here, fetch, there we go. I have the auto import. That's my trick. I have the action to fetch the repos and the fetch action for the profile. All right, so I have all the ingredients I need to make it done, right? I have my use effect dispatch an action. Sorry, on the component mount, dispatch my action. This one, dispatch our Redux action, select piece of state. This is gonna help out to fetch the profile of the user, and then this one gonna get the repos of the user. So let's get it done. So inside our component, let me call this one dispatch, like that. Cool. So use dispatch, let's create assign to a variable called use dispatch. All right, when a component mount, right, let's make the call. So use effect. When a component mount, let's dispatch our action, right? So use effect gonna render the component on initial state, on initial load, and any subsequent based on these dependencies. For now, let's pass in our dispatch as our dependencies. So here, dispatch, and you can guess that let's dispatch first of all the fetch repos. All right, you can guess that the fetch repos takes a prop, so we can provide any user. So let me call this one Emma here. So with this, if you save the application, you're going to dispatch our action on the component mount. So let's see what we have. Let's refresh it and go back to our terminal, and there we go. We have repos list, and then you go back to our action, and then, well, it says that the payload is empty. So let's see what we have. Yeah, I think this user doesn't exist. All right. So what is the problem here? We have the repos, but there is no data. So let's provide a valid user. Let me see that I know. So let's see what we have. Let's refresh the application, and there we go. Did you see? We have the repos being populated with the actual data. All right. So now we have that. So next one is let's also make a request to fetch the profile. So I can copy that, and then on the component mount, I want to fetch the profile as well. And this also requires the user profile. So if you refresh the application, let's go back to our extension tool. There we go. First of all, look at the actions coming in. When it's pending, we said it's supposed to be true. This is a repos. The first repos was pending and the profile was pending. And then we get back the data of repos and we get back the data of the profile. If you go back to our state, on the repos, we have two things. One, the profile and the repos. Therefore, we can use this one inside our application, right? So let's get going. All right. So what you're gonna do here inside here is that let's display those details. That's why I provide the placeholders for these ones. All right. So first, let's get data from store. And as you can see, I'm going to use what is called use selector, and this use selector takes in a function as a callback, and this function we have access to our store state, right? And here we can return the state, but on that we have what is called the repos. We can guess we will use repos as initial value inside our store. Let me show you this. Repos first, and then the actual profile list, and then repos list. So with this, if you try to console, let's assign the return value to this one, to let me call this one store or state. Okay, well, console, and let's see what we have. All right, there we go. We have the objects with the details from our store. Okay, so now we're going to destructure this individual piece of state here, properties, and display it accordingly. Okay, so let's get going. All right, so here, like I said, let's destructure what we want. So const my objects, and then let's destructure from store, like that. And then here on the store, we have what is called loading, and then we have what is called the repos list, and then we also have the profile of the user, and then we also have access to the error if there is any. Okay, cool. So now let's get going. Well, so we see that for the HTML, I have commented some fields. All right, so I don't want to spend my time on the CSS, so that's why I provided a template for you for us to start with. All right, so for the input, we don't want to always have a static state called this user anytime our component map. We want to have access, we want to allow the user to search for a user. Because of that, we're going to manage the internal state. So because of that, we're going to use what is called the use state from React, use state, like that. And for this use state here, we want to manage only the user. So let me call this one user, and then here it's going to be the, let me capital letters, and by default, let me provide this user. By default, that's my name, and then let's assign the user to this user, and the same thing applies to the profile user. I don't want to dispatch my actions anytime I save anything or refresh my application to exceed the limits of my API request. But if you exceed, I'll show you how to authenticate the request to extend the number of requests you can make per hour or per day. Okay, so now if you scroll down here, let's have a dynamic way. Inside this input on line 38, right, let's provide value, and this value is from where? From the user state. And then on change, when user types in something here, let's change this one to set user to e.target dot value. All right, so on change it's like this, on change like that. Then we have the target dot value. Okay, so with this, if you try to search for a user, you're going to dispatch the action, but I have uncommented that. If you doubt, let's console log the user and see that whatever we type in appears inside our console. All right, so you can do it if you want. So let's get going. Cool. So inside content goes here. Let's provide a loading, right? When it's loading, let's provide a loading before we display this content here. So under content goes here on line 52 on my code. Select that and let's see the closing tag for this. So line 52. Let's scroll down. And it ends here on line 166 on my code. So let me select that, and up to line 52, let me cut it, and then let me provide a loading state. So when it's loading, let's display some h1 and say loading, please wait, like that. But if it's not loading and there are some errors, all right, let's also display the error dynamically. So here on the error, we have what is called .message. This is from the API request. All right, but if there is no error, therefore let's paste what we got. All right, let's provide some CSS class name to the loading. Where is it? This loading. All right, so I'm gonna use Tailwind CSS class names. So here, let's say the text gonna be green. The color gonna be green 300. For TV CSS, the text and the color and the opacity, which ranges from 100 to 900. All right, so here next one is let's increase the font for the text. So let me say 3XL. These are from TV CSS. And then let me center the text. So text center like that. And then let me copy the whole of this class names and paste it inside the error message here. All right, so here let me change this one to red, because when it's red it means danger. All right, so here let's scroll down. When it's finished loading, we have our content here. So we see that on line 666 the avatar goes here. So if you uncomment this image, and if you console on the profile, you have what's called the avatar image. So if you save this one, let's see what we have. We have the image avatar of the user. Let's go down and let's provide a name. So let me uncomment this. And on the profile, we have a name and the login name. So I have append this one this way. So we save it and let's see. We have the username. And then on line 83, you have the bio. All right, so the bio is going to be the same thing. So I don't want to spend my time on typing here. So let me copy that. And then here on this span, not even span, I can even just use the bio. It's okay. So here bio, and then let's provide the span. And then inside on the profile, if you console log, we have what is called the bio. Save it and let's see what we have. Indeed, we have the bio of the user. Okay, the company goes here. So let me cut this, let me copy this and paste it here. And in profile, we have what is called company. All right, and then location, the same thing. So let me change this one to company. And then here gonna be location. On profile, what is called the location of the user. So let's save it. What we have, company and location. All right, and number of followers. Good. So the same thing. Here gonna be followers, and then profile, we have what is called followers. These are from GitHub API response. And then next one gonna be the following. So change this one to following, and then you can guess here gonna be what? Following like this. Cool. So let's scroll down, and then the number of repositories for this user. So let's uncomment that. And inside the span, focus on here. On the span, we have profile.repos. This one gives the total number of repos for this user. But in case a user don't have repos, let's display not available. And the same as for guest. So let's uncomment that. So if the user has a guest, display that, otherwise display not available. So profile, let's provide a link to the profile. When the user click on that, so let's provide href here, and this href is going to point on the profile of what is called html.html URL. So save it. Let's we have, there we go, we have the details that we have populated inside that. If you click on that, you're going to see the repo for this user. Cool. Okay, so now left with the profile list. How to look through this profile list. All right, so let's get going. Remember, the profile list is an array. So before that, let's even cut this one from here. Cut it like that. And first, let's check if the user has repos. So let's check repos. If on the repos list, make sure I type the correct name. So let me check one more time. Inside my store, it's called repos list. All right, so here on line 141 and then 143, look through this one like that. So repos list, yes, like that, repos list. On that, let's check if the name is equal to error. All right, and if there's no error, right? And then let's loop through repos list dot map. All right, and the end of map, you have access to the individual repo like that. And from our JSX, let's paste what you've copied. There we go. Oh no, sorry. It should return yeah, something like this, and then let's paste. Well, I think I have some syntax errors here, so let's check. If there is no error, repos, oh sorry, provide a function, and here you have access to repo, sorry, and then here let's paste what you copied, save it. All right, so let's see what we have. Let's refresh it, and I think, all right, so let's go back to our project here, and then let's fill in the things we need. So first, you only need the name of the, why is keep hanging? So let me restart my server again, and let's see what is wrong. Okay, so while it's loading, let's try to finish there. So here, let's provide a name, right? A name. So when the user click on the name, we want to send the user to the particular link the user click on. So on that, we have repo.name, right? Like that. Cool. Oh, sorry, because I'm not dispatching the action. That is why I got that. So here, let's uncomment that. And then let's dispatch the action. Loading, we see that. And there we go. There we go. We have it. Cool. We have the profile and the as well. So if you click any of these ones, it doesn't take us to anywhere. So let's provide a link. So let's scroll down where we are looping through here, and let's provide href. And then here it should take us to the repo.html URL. So let's save it, and then let's click on any of these ones, and it has taken us to the page of this particular repository. Okay guys, so in this way, let's try to trigger some errors inside our application. Let's see if you're going to get the error. So let's change one of these endpoint. Let's tamper with it. So let's save it, and let's see what we're going to get. Well, the error is not coming in, so let's see what we have here. Rejected. And then let's see what we have. Error message not found. Is because, let's go back to our error message, sorry, the app, because I think we are not providing the color of the text. So let's go where we have the error. So let's check our state 2 and see that, oh, so it's error.data.message, sorry. So it's gonna be error.data.message. So let's see what we have. And this one is for the repos, the profile. There we go. You see, not found, because you've tempered the HTTP endpoint. So let me bring it back again. And then let's refresh. And there we go. We have it. All right. So guys, this is how we make use of HTTP GitHub API to create application like this. All right. So in case you are facing, maybe you have exceed your HTTP cost limit, you can leave a comment below, and I will update it and show you how we can authenticate the request. Otherwise, here ends the video.